The finger of God is as visible still to those who have eyes to see as when the fire cloud pillar led his people through the wilderness. Our God's marvelous works are still visible today.
This is where it all started for me. The Lord called me to pastor here in the winter of 2006. If you can try to picture fitting 90 chairs into this little auditorium, that's the way we met for many years. Well, when I first came, there were 12 adults and a baby, and that was it. But then the Lord started to bless, and we started to see more families come in. We started praying for families with little children, and the Lord really blessed that way. Right away, I began to challenge the church about getting into a better building because it was just impossible really to grow in our current facility. One of the first things I did was I contacted Continental Baptist Missions, but at the time they were only accepting churches that had no building at all. So at that point, we started looking for buildings to purchase in the area, but nothing just worked out. We even looked at the old city hall, but again, one of the builders suggested we not do that. And so we just kept praying.
We eventually became discouraged, feeling our building would never get started. At that moment, God gave us 100 contemporary-looking chairs for our new auditorium, which boosted our morale and helped us to remember God was with us and He wasn't forgetting about us.
And wasn't too much longer after that, the building director of Continental Baptist Missions, Dallas Putnam, came and met with our group and said that they would love to build for us. They had changed their policy.
Moving forward with this new building idea, initially, it was kind of a scary thing. And the first time that God really settled my soul and showed me that He was in this was our annual meeting when we voted as a church whether or not to move forward with the new building. It came back and they said, Pastor, it's a yes, and not only is it a yes, but it's 100% yes, 100%. And I broke down. I started crying right from the pulpit because we couldn't agree 100% on cutting down 2 pine trees, but all of us agreed to build a new church building, and there was 100% of the vote. That was really the start of God showing His greatness in moving us forward in this building process.
We were able to use those chairs God had given us as our color scheme to start our new building, and we were awed by God actually fulfilling His good purpose.
The Builder families not only came to build a building, but to minister to us and become part of that bigger family of God through ministry and building a church and building into our lives at the same time. That personal time that the women gave for reaching out to our women and starting Bible studies, those are all invaluable.
I want to say what a blessing it has been to be a part of building this building. Worked with Sean on electrical, worked with the other guys on framing and shingling, although they wouldn't let me go very high when I was shingling. I guess I had other people saying, don't let them get up there. I was really blessed, and it's been great to be in here and to be able to use it for God's glory.
There are a few stories that we have to tell as to how God made this building a reality. We had a family in our church who work with windows and doors. They gave us all the windows in the church at the cost, what they buy them for, and they donated all of the labor to install the windows. My brother, who owns a lumber company, and he gave us a tremendous deal on the lumber. We had another Christian businessman that let us use much of his equipment, a skylift and some of the other pieces of equipment we would have had to rent, but we were able to use them for free. We had another family that just out of the blue, they contacted us and said, hey, we want to give you guys $100,000. It was just what do you do when that kind of stuff happens? How do you look at that? It's one thing to hear all these stories by people that have lived and have seen God work. It's a whole nother thing to live through it.
God not only worked in some really big ways, but there are also a lot of little ways that he worked, like laying on the heart of a siding contractor to donate $500 worth of siding nails. God laid it on the heart of a businessman, even before we started the building process, to just drop a $300 check in the mailbox. There were a couple of churches in Michigan who brought a van load of people, and they helped with the building process and also in our own church people. It just fills my heart, and I'm just so excited to see how God is going to use it.
As this building was being built, I had to go in for surgery. We thought, why in the world is God doing this to me? And in the midst of that trial, God showed himself strong.
It was Valentine's Day. My son is in the middle of surgery, and I get a notification on my phone. I check my email, and it was the email from the Lasko Foundation. And our church had been accepted, and we had asked them for $150,000. They gave us $208,000. When does that ever happen? When does a company give you $58,000 more than you asked for? And the answer is, if God's in it, that's when it happens.
This grant helped us build the church debt-free, which is amazing because we were expecting to have to get a loan from the bank, but we had extra money in the bank after.
Walking in here for the first time, I just looked up at the lights in the ceiling and just thinking of the glory of God in the heavens, all these lights and how bright and how beautiful, and the workmanship that they did, everything done so well. I never imagined that it would be this beautiful.
In a world that's full of experiences that test your faith, it is so encouraging to come to these times when you can see the visible proofs of God's existence, the faith that builds. To see all of that and put it together, that God still does miracles and we are able to experience it.
Isaiah 64:10, God says, "My purposes will be established, and I will fulfill my good pleasure." And that's exactly what happened.
Our new auditorium, our new building now is, for me, the fulfillment of a 14-year vision.
The invisible finger of God was very visible, and God was teaching us how to look for it, and it was marvelous in our eyes.